Thank you. Let me start. I'll go back one. My name is Andy Sands. I'm co-founder of PixelMax with my business partner, Shay O'Carroll. We wanted to talk to you today about how a Scouse geek and a Manc went from 3D modeling angle grinders right the way up to broadcasting the UEFA Women's Champions League final a few weeks ago. So Shay and I met about 9 or 10 years ago, feels like longer, working in a 3D services studio. So we serviced architects, engineers, and construction to take 3D items, buildings, and create an easier way for people to understand things like construction methodology, how buildings were going to be built, how engineering worked. We had a massive level of success in that business, and we grew revenue from about 300,000 to about 3.2. Is that correct, Shay? Yeah. In about 4 or 5 years of working together. Grew a team of massively different talents, from 3D modelers in architecture to 3D modelers in actual design and product, into animations, virtual reality, augmented reality. We started to explore the technology of gamification, so using things like Unreal by Epic Games and the Unity game engine. And we wanted to explore that with that business. That wasn't the vision of the business, so we decided to set up our own company, Imagine 3D at the start, now PixelMax. We first took an office over in SciTech Daresbury, which is a very science-orientated startup incubator, if you like. We used the technology of gamification to take real environments. So we started with manufacturing sites, additive manufacturing, heavy manufacturing all around the Northwest. And we used traditional and new surveying methods to take capture of existing environments and kit. So we started manufacturing digital models of real sites. So taking real sites and gamifying that for many different reasons. All around communication, so space planning, so people can understand how their space or their factory works, right the way through to integrating IoT sensors. One of the problems or issues we had there was we were in a standalone environment. We're delivering on pen drives, we're delivering on high-powered computers. So we started to explore very early in our business the cloud deployment of that, which I'll go on to in a second. We then formed relationships with a lot of different universities, Aberdeen being the main one, around microbiology and the use of augmented reality within life sciences. So we were using quite disruptive technologies in industries that were quite old-fashioned. We were really trying to break the boundaries of education, manufacturing, with a gimmicky, what was seen as a gimmicky method of education, which was VR and AR and gamification. So we decided quite early in the business that we needed to prove credibility with what our tech was about. So with the university links that we've sort of nurtured over the last few years, we created or wrote some published papers, some research papers. First off, we done a really nice piece for the Christie in Manchester, where we created a virtual reality induction for children to go into proton beam therapy, so for cancer care. That opened a lot of doors for us with regards to sort of the human element of what we'd done. And we actually won an award for the research paper there. We then went into augmented reality in life sciences. That got us a lot of attention within media. We had a couple of front page articles and again, won another award for that process. That sort of coverage and route to market really helped us grow a team. So obviously I'm the Scouser, so I wanted an office in Liverpool. So we opened an office over in Centre City, which was great. We developed a really, really good team. We worked with a lot of different universities, a lot of different manufacturing sites. So taking this tech that we knew what we were doing with it, deploying these digital twins, deploying these educational pieces using 3D tech. We then started to really explore the cloud deployment of that. So we formed a relationship with AWS in 2019 to really start to look at how can we take this problem of distributing 3D models interactive with multiplayer elements so people can communicate within the model to mass audiences. We then decided we've developed some tech we need to develop ourselves. So we entered a competition, which we won, and we were flown over to Lyon for 5 days. Shay and I were thinking, this is going to be great. We're going to go to France. We'll have some nice food. We'll do a bit of work. We'll get a bit of development. It was horrific. We had 5 days of being pulled from pillar to post by different engineers, different construction people, aviation. We had a whole mix of people literally pulling our business apart. As with any startup, we've been bootstrapping for a year or two. So it was really good to take 5 days away from working in the business and sort of work on the business. So we had an absolutely fantastic time and really nailed the fact that cloud deployment, this mass deployment, was exactly what we wanted to do. So after the 5 days, we bought a lot of beers, and I fell asleep on Shay on the plane, which he reminds me of frequently. We then came back to Liverpool, to our office, and Shay said, Manchester's better than Liverpool. And I was like, right, okay. I'd worked in Manchester previously for 10 years, so I knew what the city was about. We entered a competition with Exchange, so Mo and Tanya and the guys at Exchange and Tech Nation really supported us. Got through to the final, and we won a competition to get a funded office space within Bonded Warehouse. So open plan, desks, absolutely brilliant. This is great. We're going to be in Manchester. We'll close the Liverpool office, Shay. So that all was happening sort of beginning of 2020. January, we were already in a massive contract negotiation with Airbus. So we got into Airbus through some events that we'd done. We were looking at modelling up one of their sites in Broughton. We'd also been in conversations with Alabama and Seville to do the same. So take that reality mesh, a 3D laser scan, create a digital asset to allow them to really look at really intense stuff like value stream mapping, supply chain, what the effect of any change within their efficiencies or the way they do their workflow and what would happen to the output. We then had a bit of a problem, which was COVID. So we were due to be on site at the end of February at Broughton to start our scan. There'd been an infection there, so that got cancelled. And then everything we planned for the year, including a 5-day event in Birmingham, supporting the Made Smarter campaign, we were on their stand. So we were like, oh dear. We said stronger words than that at the time. So we thought, what are we going to do? So Shay and I are on calls, couldn't see each other. We've got 7 members of staff. All of our contract had stopped because it was mainly around manufacturing, so everyone's pulling every penny and stopping everything. So Shay went, we can do digital environments, can't we? He was like, yeah. He was like, we could make event stands, couldn't we? And we could make loads of event stands and we could create a virtual event. And I was like, yeah, okay. So Shay done what he does. He goes away and starts to sell and starts to speak to people. I done what I do, and I'm glad it's small because it's quite sensitive, this architecture. But we developed a really intuitive way of starting to deploy these multiplayer environments to allow people to interact within one 3D space. So watch videos, interact in conversation, in text, do a lot of different things in a 3D environment. So we started that. We pulled together a really strong steering committee in Manchester from Tech Nation, a load of other really, really high-profile events companies to really start to see what users wanted. We were starting to get into that Zoom fatigue, what people didn't like, what they did like. So we pulled the steering committee together. We got some real key speakers, look or skill, I still don't know what it was, but we managed to get a guy called Dan Lyons, who was the co-creator of Silicon Valley, the sitcom, the American sitcom on tech. He done a talk for us, ex-CTO of Microsoft America. So we really key speakers, and we launched that to about 150 people within a multiplayer environment. This was the start of what has then become PixelMax. So I'm going to show a short video, and I'll shut up for a minute and a half. Then I'm going to go through a bit of a case study with UEFA to show you exactly what the platform does. So what you're going to see now is a live environment. We were approached by UEFA beginning of the year to create a replacement of what was going to be a physical event. It was a fan event to really up the sort of public persona of women's football, particularly to 11 to 25-year-old females. So we worked with UEFA over in Switzerland, to create a 3D environment, which would traditionally have been the football stadium where the Women's Champions League was played. They wanted to do a lot of different things with fan engagement, so the room that the player could walk in on screen that you've seen there was the launch of the new Women's Champions League anthem that was broadcast on our platform on the match day. We then created, alongside Nike, a keepy-up game, so you can see the player doing keepy-ups. My high score was 8, Shay's was about 4, and the winner, when you get a load of professional footballers and football fans, was 28, and they won a signed match ball donated by Nike and UEFA. So we got a lot of fan engagement within that, and that was all in the platform, through the networking and messaging within the platform, but also taking it out to social media, which we tracked and got a lot of really nice information for sponsors. We had a main stage area, so the users could walk through, and within this space, we had 6 or 7 podcasts and live streams that were broadcast into the platform. So we had Katrina Johnson-Thompson, the athlete, the Olympic athlete, a load of different famous women in sport, from motocross to football, all doing different talks and engaging and directing the players or the visitors to this 3D environment to go and interact. Sponsors had videos in, so we could walk around the world and interact with videos that were pre-recorded, so sponsors were getting the information they wanted out to the audience. It was very much targeted about getting these young females interested in playing football, watching football at quite a senior level. We had Visa, who sponsor player of the match, so if you click on anything that glows within our environment, there's usually a trigger or a call to action. Within this, you could watch videos, you could click on a poll to try and decide who was going to be the player of that match, Chelsea and Barcelona. We then had very different areas where you could then walk through. So this was all first person, so it wasn't a dictated, prescribed route around the environment. It was very much a first player to decide exactly where you want to go or where you don't want to go. Social media walls, UEFA ambassadors that randomly are paid by the minute. And then a lot of social media links to go out of the platform to go and do posts or connect, which was a big driver for them. Then got videos that play over within the 3D environment. We then navigate out of this space into one of the spaces which was one of the key areas which I don't think UEFA thought would get this much attention. We broadcast this to 1,200 individuals over Europe, so it was one of the biggest ones, we think, to our knowledge, the biggest stream that AWS and Epic Games have done with a multiplayer environment. This area was within the platform, so these pictures, if the player or the visitor clicked on one of these images, the actual player was sat at the back end of our platform in their home in Switzerland, France, Germany, and they could do a video call. I'm a tech geek, I love tech, I love the gaming side of it. But this sort of human element, the tweet that went up on the screen there was a young girl in France who had just spoken to an Arsenal player and basically said, UEFA, you've made a dream come true. I've just spoken to one of my heroes, which I got a bit emotional. Shay doesn't do that, but I was like, wow, this is mega. And we've then just seen a couple of walls within the content that's broadcast in the platform. They ask questions about equality in sport, equal pay, that kind of thing. People could post things so you could see up on a wall. We also pull through from Twitter every 30 seconds from hashtags, so you've got a live Twitter feed within that environment. And then, because we had a bit of time left over and it was UEFA, we modelled up the actual stadium where it was played. And then we gave the players the ability to kick the ball around and score a goal. So that just gives you an idea of the tech and its delivery, so that human element of this isn't just gamification for gamification's sake. After this, we went through a seed investment round. So back in November last year, we raised $250 with Solid Bond. The exchange program and everything we've done around Tech Nation and the advice, support and introductions we've had have been absolutely key for us. We then started to negotiate with Procura, just down the road, around the corner from our office, and we secured a £2 million investment in March. That's allowed us to grow from 8 staff on payroll to currently 26, which is mind-blowing. Great for us, great for the platform. We've now got direct relationships with Epic Games over in the States, and we're really trying to push boundaries. Back end of this year, we're in North America. We're saying to our wives, it's actually Las Vegas. At an AWS summit, we're going to try and break a world record on concurrent users streamed within a multiplayer environment. And to embarrass Shay, because he wasn't getting up today, Shay got quite drunk after the last round of investment and got a bit excited. We've got quite a few creatives, obviously, in the business, and he came in one morning, he was like, I've done something, Andy. I'm like, what? He said, I've bought a personalised plate. So we got this mocked up. And that, in a nutshell, is us. So thanks very much for your time.